couldn't ask for a more peaceful and calm day on the Grand River. There's nothing about me that is afraid, and there's nothing around me that would cause fear. These waters are peaceful, they're tranquil. I can see down a little bit to your right and my left. There's 3 people enjoying a little fishing. The waters are calm. It's a good place to be, to relax. But today, I want us to go back to a different place, standing on the bank of a different body of water. Moses, we read about in Exodus, he did his job. God used him and his brother to stand before Pharaoh and to bring that message and to ask, and then to declare to Pharaoh that he is the God over heaven and earth, and that Pharaoh must let the Israelites go. The Lord, in that 10th and final plague, delivered his people. And then Moses led all the Israelites east out of Egypt, and then they approached a different spot, one in which they, being the Israelites, nervous, figuring out what is this newfound freedom, were quite afraid. You see, Pharaoh changed his mind. He wanted his slaves back. And God had hardened Pharaoh's hearts. So now they come chasing after the Israelites. So back to their west, the Israelites see an army approaching. But to their east, they see the Red Sea. And they were afraid. Now let's consider 2 things. Maybe something you haven't considered, but can you swim? I can swim. The idea of swimming across this river, I'm sure I could do it just fine. Not that I'm especially dressed for it right now, nor do I really want to. I'd rather go to a clean swimming pool or go out to the big lake. But yeah, I'll go swim across this river. It's not a big deal. I'm not afraid of the water. Have you considered that most people in Moses' day wouldn't have been able to swim? Like, really? Well, a little different historical period. Go even back 200 years ago, around the year 1800. British sailors, age of sail, going around the entire globe in a boat. Most of them couldn't swim if they wanted to cool off. The lieutenants would lower canvas down into the ocean so that they could get a little bit of relief from the hot sun, and they could swim, per se, on top of a canvas. The Israelites in slavery, they wouldn't have been able to swim. So a river like this, even though calm, would have been intimidating. Second reason, water in the ancient world always represented chaos and fear. Chaos, let me say that again, and fear. So crossing over the Red Sea in and of itself would have caused great fear for the Israelites. And then to see the cloud of dust, to look west, back towards Egypt, and to see chariots are getting closer and closer. And now we are pinned in. And God steps in. I want to read these verses for you. Exodus chapter 14. The Lord gave these instructions. Moses, he stretched out his hand over the sea, and all that night the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The water divided, and the Israelites, they went through the sea on dry ground with a wall of water on their right and on their left. There is now, instead of sea, instead of water, instead of chaos, there is a dry path for them to walk. But they still had to walk it, did they not? You ever seen those places where you can walk out, but it's plexiglass? You know it's going to hold you, but it freaks you out. I have to step out and then, nerve-wracking. See this as skyscrapers. I think there's even something like this out by the Grand Canyon. Imagine now, you cannot swim. You are fearful because you think the Egyptians are going to either kill you or bring you back into slavery. You have seen now and felt this east wind blow through the tents, blow through your hair, and you now see a wall of water on your left and on your right, but you still have to, by faith, step out and trust. By faith, Hebrews 11 says, the Israelites crossed on dry land. The Lord fought for them, protecting them from the Egyptians. The Lord divided the sea so there was a dry path. The Lord is doing so much for you and for me, but we still have to step out in faith and trust in Him. Their brain was probably thinking, what if that wall of water collapsed? What if? What if? What if? By faith, we trust that what God says He will do, He will do. He said He would deliver the Israelites from the hand of the Egyptians. They weren't going to go back into slavery, and they weren't going to drown in the sea. So person by person, family by family, wagon by wagon, animal by animal, all of the tribes of Israel, they cross over the dry land. Now, the last thing, how do we know it wasn't just good timing? How do we know it wasn't a fluke? It was only after all of the Israelites made it across, and only after some of the Egyptians crossed over the dry land to pursue them, did God pull down the waters? Did God pull back that wall? And the Egyptians were thrown, horse and rider, tossed into the sea. You can read about the song of their deliverance in Exodus chapter 15. But once again, we're reminded to live by faith and take that step of faith, even in fear, knowing that when the Lord goes before us and when the Lord goes behind us, we do not have to be afraid.